Every family has a story they only tell at the kitchen table. The one that comes out late after the plates are cleared and the kids are asleep and somebody pours that last glass. The one with the love nobody saw coming and the betrayal everybody pretends they didn't. Welcome to the Echoes of Us. Sit back, relax, and let me tell you a story. Before we begin, let me tell you about her. Her name is Elena Jana Sinclair. The people who love her, and there are a lot of them, call her AJ. She's 39 years old. She's the middle child of a Cleveland family with a mother who dances in the kitchen, a father who plays gospel on the upright piano, and a grandmother who has been outliving her enemies on principle since 1942. AJ is brilliant. She's funny. She's the woman who cooks the food everybody is waiting for at Sunday dinner. She runs the strategy at a downtown firm where mediocre men have spent a decade trying to figure out how to take credit for what she's already finished. She's raising her niece and she's mentoring young women. She is beloved. She's also 5'6" and 350 pounds. And she spent her entire life refusing to be made smaller, physically, emotionally, professionally, or otherwise. Over the next four parts, you're going to watch three people try to take everything from her at once: a man who never really saw her, a sister who should have known better, and a friend who was never really a friend at all. She's not going to yell. She's not going to beg. She is not going to bend. She is going to build. This is the weight of her worth. Part 1: The Performance. Chapter 1: Sunday in October. Cleveland in October smelled like wet leaves, lake water, and somebody's grandmother's kitchen. On a Sunday, on the east side, if you walk slow enough down the right kind of street, you could pick out the black families by the smell alone. Collards on a back burner, macaroni and cheese bacon with three kinds of cheese, cornbread cooling on top of the stove because nobody ever had counter space when it mattered. The houses on those streets had been built for steel money, oil money, and railroad money. And somewhere along the way, the people who lived in them had changed, but the houses still stood the way old houses stand, like they had opinions. The Sinclair house sat halfway down the street, lined with 100-year-old oaks. And on this particular Sunday, it had its windows cracked, despite the cold, because Vivian Sinclair believed in airing out a house even in October. Y'all act like Jesus can't survive a draft, she said the first time someone complained, and that was the end of that. Inside, Elena Jana Sinclair was elbow deep in macaroni. Everybody called her AJ except her mother, who called her Jana Bug, and her father, who called her baby girl, whether she liked it or not. She was 39 years old, 5'6", 350 pounds of woman, deep brown skin, full mouth painted a soft brick red, with beautiful almond eyes that were lined sharp. She had on a wraparound dress, the color of a sunset, and earrings her grandmother gave her when she turned 30. Her hair was pulled up off her neck because she was cooking, and a few coils had escaped near her temple. She didn't bother to fix them. She was beautiful, but that wasn't the first thing you noticed about her. The first thing you noticed about Elena Sinclair was that she occupied a room. She didn't apologize for any of it. Not for her size, not for her brain, not for her looks. Elena earned her confidence, and she wore it like a badge of honor. She slid the macaroni into the oven, set the timer on her phone, and turned around to find her niece Charlie standing in the doorway with one sock on. "Where's the other one, ma'am?" Charlie considered the question with the seriousness of an 8-year-old who had been raised by lawyers and grandmothers. "I think it died." "Socks don't die, Charlie. This one did." AJ laughed and bent down. Bent down, not stooped. There was a difference, and her grandmother had taught her that. And she kissed the top of Charlie's head. The little girl smelled like coconut oil and apple juice. Go find your grandmother. Tell her you need a sock transplant. Okay, Mama J. The name started when Charlie was 3 and still confused. By 5, it was just true. By 8, nobody in the family questioned it anymore, including Lena, who had stopped showing up enough to question anything. Mama J. AJ stood up and pressed her palm flat against the kitchen island for half a second, the way she did sometimes when the love hit her sideways. From the living room, you could hear her father playing the piano. Marcus Sinclair Sr. was 6'3" and built like a refrigerator wearing a sweater. And when he sat down at the upright piano in the living room, he became something else entirely. He played by ear and by feeling, and he sang the way Black men in Black churches had been singing for hundreds of years. Like the song itself was a long road home, and he was walking it. Right now, he was warming up with something gospel shaped, his voice low and full. Vivian was in the kitchen behind AJ, dancing without meaning to, the way she always did when her husband sang. She had on her good earrings, even though it was just family. She had on her good earrings because it was family. Bug, Vivian said over her shoulder, stirring the greens. You put enough seasoning in that mac. Mama, when have I ever not? I'm just asking. Don't get sensitive. I'm not sensitive. I'm correct. Mm. Vivian smiled at the pot. Lord, you sound like my mother. Granny Ida Mae Sinclair was already at the table. She was 84 years old, 4'11" if you stretched her, and she had outlived 2 husbands, 3 doctors, and an entire generation of women who had thought they could outrun her in the gossip Olympics. She was wearing pearls, a navy church suit she had not actually been to church in, and pink lipstick. Her cane was hooked on the back of the chair like a thread. Where my baby? She called. I'm right here, Granny. Not you, child. I see you. Where is my great grand? She killed a sock. Tragic. Get her a juice. Charlie appeared in the doorway with 2 new socks on the wrong feet. AJ poured her an apple juice, watched her run back to Granny Ida, and for one perfect second, the whole house held still around them. The piano, the dancing, the macaroni, the lipstick grandmother, the little girl, the smell of everything good. Then the front door opened. Mama, your favorite child has arrived. Jasmine Sinclair came in like she always did, louder than necessary, hair freshly twisted out into a halo, a bottle of wine in each hand, 5'8", shaped like a question mark, the kind of woman who walked into rooms and made grown men forget their wives' names for half a second. Twin Talina by birth, opposite Talina by every measure. She kicked off her shoes by the door because Vivian's rules were Vivian's rules. You always say that, AJ said, and you're always wrong. I'm the youngest by 6 minutes. That counts. It does not count. Daddy, am I your favorite? Marcus Sr. didn't look up from the piano. I love all my children equally, and you in particular, baby girl. See, he said that exact sentence to me 45 minutes ago, AJ said. Jasmine kissed her sister on the cheek and stole a piece of cornbread off the counter. I'm gonna pretend I didn't hear that. The next 20 minutes filled the house up. Marcus Jr. came in with his wife, Simone. Simone with her quiet smile and her hand on the small of Jay's back. Jay, 8 years old and already too cool for hugs, and behind them, little Marcus III, toddling behind in his church shoes, who everyone just called Trey. 3 years old and already wise to the fact that if he stood next to Granny Ida at exactly the right time, she would slip him a piece of cornbread off her own plate. Marcus Jr. was 46, captain of the fire department, built like his father with his mother's smile. He went straight for AJ. Sis, tell me you made the mac. I made the mac. With the three cheeses, Marcus. I'm not new. He hugged her the way he'd been hugging her since she was 4. One big arm sideways with a forehead bump at the end. Simone hugged her too, longer, and whispered, How's work this week? Because Simone always asked the question nobody else thought to ask. Brent's still being Brent. Lord, I'll tell you later. Trey attached himself to AJ's leg and demanded to be picked up. She picked him up. He grabbed her face with both small hands and announced with the gravity of a senator, I want juice. Okay, sir, AJ said. Jay was already in the den with Charlie. Both girls on the floor with their phones, showing each other TikTok dances they were too cool to actually do in front of any adult. Down the hall, the piano had switched from gospel into something playful. Marcus Sr. doing his impression of every Sunday school song he'd ever played, matched up with a little Stevie underneath. Vivian was laughing in the kitchen. The house smelled by now like the inside of a hug. Devin showed up next. He showed up with the energy he always showed up with. He was 43, the second born, the prettiest of the boys, and the most punishingly aware of it. He had on a cashmere sweater, the color of Lake Erie, at 4 in the afternoon, and a chain which his mother had once told him was too much for a Sunday, but he'd worn it anyway. He owned a club down on the river where half of the city's After Five took place, and he worked artist development at a label that had 3 Grammy nominations on the wall. And he carried both of those facts on his shoulders the way other men carried a coat. He was cunning, handsome, and soft in places he hid, and steel in places he didn't. And then Keita came in behind him. Keita was tall and easy moving, a fashion stylist by trade, a quiet woman by nature. She had a baby in a carrier strapped to her chest, 5-month-old Imani, asleep, mouth open. AJ saw Keita and saw the carrier and the baby and the way Devin's hand kept finding the small of Keita's back. And she thought for a second, not for the first time, but maybe this time, Keita was the woman who was going to make her brother stop running. And she also thought, not for the first time, that her brother was a coward, dressed up like a man. But she loved him anyway. My pretty sister, Devin said, kissing her cheek. Tell me you made Devin, if one more person asks me about the macaroni with the 3 cheeses, yes, with the 3 cheeses, Lord. He grinned. I'm just confirming. He turned to Keita. Babe, this macaroni is going to change your life. I look forward to it, Keita said. And her voice was warm, but it was tired. And AJ clocked that too. Lena was late. Lena was always late, but she was more late than usual. And Vivian kept glancing at the clock above the stove like the clock owed her money. By the time the doorbell rang at 4:30, the food was on the table, and Granny Ida had said twice, we can start eating without that girl. She came in like a magazine cover, 5'10", kinky straight hair down past her shoulders, makeup that looked airbrushed because it nearly was. She wore an ivory cashmere set, ankle boots that cost more than most people's rent, and she came in saying, sorry, 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 without slowing her stride. She kissed her mother. She kissed her father. She did not look at her daughter. Charlie looked at her, though. Charlie always looked at her, 8 years old, and already trained to register the temperature of a room before she began stepping into it. Hi, Mommy. Hi, baby. Mwah. Lena did not bend down. She blew the kiss from standing height and breezed past Charlie in the dining room. Mama, it smells incredible. Daddy, sit down. You've been at the piano all day. AJ, oh, look at you in that color. Brave choice. You wear it well. Thank you, Lena. How's work? Good. Hmm. Lena sat in her seat, the seat furthest from the head of the table where she had a clear view of everyone but didn't have to engage with anyone. Just good. I heard from somebody Marisol's grooming you for partner. Who'd you hear that from? Lena waved her manicured hand. Girl, I know people. Across the table, Granny Ida raised her eyebrows so far up her forehead it nearly disappeared into her wig. Marcus Sr. cleared his throat. The house quieted, the way it always quieted when he made that sound. He held out his hands, and the family joined him. Simone to his right, Vivian to his left, around the circle, Charlie's small hand inside AJ's bigger one, Trey wiggling in his booster, Jay solemn for once. Father God, Marcus Sr. said, voice low, we thank you for this food. We thank you for this family. We thank you for every chair at this table, the ones that got here on time, and the ones who got here at all. Bless this house. Bless our children. Bless the babies. Bless the ones who we haven't met yet. Cover us, Lord, and let no weapon formed against us prosper. In Jesus' name. Amen, the table said. Amen, Granny Ida said again, louder looking at Lena. Lena looked at her plate. Chapter 2. The Runway. Monday morning, AJ took the Rapid downtown. She could have driven. The firm paid for her parking in the garage under her building, but she liked the ride. She liked watching the city slide past the train window, the quiet stops at sunrise, then the long flat stretch where the city remembered it was a city. Then the lake, suddenly opening up on the right side like somebody had pulled back a curtain. She liked the people on the train. She liked having 40 minutes that belonged to nobody but her. By 8:15, she was at her desk on the 44th floor, coffee in hand, laptop open, looking out at the lake. Strategy Hill Consulting Group occupied 4 floors of the building. It was one of the firms that had been around long enough to have a portrait of a dead founder in the lobby and young enough to have a wellness room that nobody used. AJ had been there 11 years. She had made senior strategy consultant at 33. She was now, at 39, on what Marisol Vega called the runway, the 18-month stretch of work and politics that ended either in partnership or in a polite conversation about your next chapter. Marisol was AJ's mentor and the firm's only Latina VP. She had hired AJ right out of grad school. She had defended her in rooms AJ wasn't in. She was sharp, fair, terrifying woman who wore her hair in a bun that nobody had ever seen come down. And she ate lunch at her desk every single day. That morning at 10, she stuck her head into AJ's office. Sinclair, Marisol, walk with me. They walked. They got coffee from the kiosk in the lobby. Marisol drank hers black. AJ took hers with 2 sugars and a splash of oat milk. They went back up to the 45th floor and into Marisol's office, which had the same lake view as AJ's but bigger, and Marisol shut the door. Sit. AJ sat. It's time. For what? You know for what. Marisol turned her computer screen around. On it was a slide deck titled Sinclair A. Partner Track Review. You're up. The committee meets in March. You have 18 months to make me look right. AJ exhaled. She had known this was coming, and she still wanted to hear her say it. What do I need to do? You need to keep doing what you've been doing. You need to land the Sherwin-Williams retention strategy, and you need to land it clean. You need to publish. I want one piece in HBR and one in MIT Sloan Review. You need to take Aisha under your wing because the committee likes mentors, and you need to handle Brent. AJ sat her coffee down. Handle Brent how? Quietly, carefully, with paperwork. Marisol leaned back. He's been positioning himself for the same seat. He's not your competition because he's not your equal, but he's going to spend the next year trying to convince the committee that he is. Do not give him your work. Do not put him on your decks. Do not, under any circumstances, send him drafts of anything. Understood? Yes. Good. Now get out of my office and go be brilliant. AJ got out. She made it 3 steps down the hall before Brent Callahan stepped out of the kitchenette holding a coffee in one hand and a half eaten bagel in the other. Sinclair, tell me about the Sherwin Williams thing. What about it? I was thinking we could co lead, leverage both of our networks. I don't recall asking. He laughed like she told a joke. Come on, Sinclair. We're a team. We're really not. I'll have Greg send over a deck I started. We can build on it together. Hmm, AJ said, walking past him. You do that. She would not, in fact, be building on it. Chapter 3. Mahogany. The Mahogany Society was Cleveland's premier Black professional networking organization. The annual gala was held at one of the old downtown hotels, the kind that had built in the 1920s for rich white men and had spent the last 40 years steadily filling up with Black women in floor-length gowns and Black men in tuxedos that fit too well. The chandeliers were original, the dance floor was small, and the bar was open. AJ wore navy blue. The dress was custom. Camille had bullied her into the appointment 4 months ago, and her seamstress had built it to her body the way good clothes were supposed to be built. Off the shoulder, fitted through the bodice, a skirt that swept the floor when she walked. Her hair was up, earrings were small diamonds, which were a gift to herself for closing a deal in March. She had on lipstick the color of garnet. She walked into that room knowing she looked like money. Camille walked in next to her in emerald green, 6 inches taller in her heels, and quietly photographing every detail of every outfit on every Black woman in the room for her Sunday post. Camille was a corporate lawyer at Jones Day by day, but she had 47,000 followers on Instagram and growing. In one of these years, the styling brand was going to start paying the bills. Cat at 6 o'clock, Camille muttered. AJ didn't turn her head. I see her. She's coming over. She's always coming over. Katrina Whitmore Ellis. She came over. Kat was 38, 5'7", dressed in a champagne colored gown that had probably cost twice what AJ's had cost, and it looked half as good. She had a smile that was always slightly too prepared, like she had practiced it in the mirror that afternoon and put it on the way you put on jewelry. She kissed AJ on the cheek. Babe, look at you. She held AJ briefly at arm's length and did the small inventory women do when they evaluate other women. Eyes that did the work without announcing it. You clean up nicely. Camille's hand, I presume? Camille's hand. Cam. Stunning, as always. You look beautiful, Kat, Camille said. Camille's voice was flat. Camille's voice was always flat with Kat. Kat let it pass. Kat always let it pass. You both make me feel underdressed. A small flutter at her own gown. False modesty. The kind that was less modest, the harder it tried. I have to steal AJ for a minute. There's somebody I want her to meet. AJ's stomach tightened by a millimeter, the way it always did when Kat had a plan. Who? An old friend of mine from Atlanta. He's in town for a deal. I think you two would speak the same language. Don't make that face. Come on. She didn't wait for an answer. She tugged AJ's elbow and led her across the ballroom. And AJ followed because that was the path of least resistance. And because somewhere underneath the suspicion, she let herself be curious. He was standing by the bar. He was tall, 6'2", maybe a little more, and slim in his tuxedo. You could tell he had a personal trainer or he worked heavily. Long nights with no dinners. His skin was smooth, a medium brown. His face was open, easy, the kind of face that would age gracefully but looked like trouble. When he saw Kat coming, he straightened. Andre, Kat said, this is the woman I was telling you about. Elena Sinclair. AJ, this is Andre Mitchell, real estate developer, Atlanta. He's just here for the weekend. Andre held out his hand. AJ took it. Pleasure. Likewise. Kat squeezed AJ's elbow, the way someone says, you're welcome. I'll let you two get acquainted. She drifted back into the crowd. That was it. That was the whole start. He bought her a drink. She let him. He asked her about her work, and he listened, actually listened, head tilted, eyes on her face. He asked her 3 follow-up questions about the Sherwin-Williams retention model, and the third one was smart enough that she revised her downward assumption that he was an idiot. By then, Camille had rejoined the group. Andre laughed at something Camille had said, and his laugh was nice. He had good teeth. When the band started playing the slow part of the night, he asked her to dance. And she said yes, because she could, because her dress fit, because she was 39 years old and beautiful and tired of pretending she wasn't. He pulled her in, and he led, which she appreciated. He smelled like cedar and money. He said low, near her ear, Kat didn't tell me you were stunning. She undersold you. Kat oversells most things, AJ said. It's a fluke. He laughed. Across the ballroom, Camille watched them, and her phone hung at her side. She decided not to take the picture. He was on a plane back to Atlanta the next morning, and he texted her from the gate. I don't normally do this, but I'd like to see you again. She let him wait 6 hours before she replied. I don't normally do this either. Saturday, I'll fly back. That's a long flight for a maybe. It's not a maybe. She set her phone face down on her kitchen island and stood there for a long time, just looking at it. Then she picked it up and typed, Saturday. He flew in. He took her to dinner at a quiet French place uptown, the kind of restaurant where the maitre d' knew the difference between real reservations and an aspirational one. He pulled out her chair. He ordered the wine without asking her what she wanted, and the wine he ordered was the one she would have ordered. He told her about his projects, a mixed use development in Atlanta, a hotel he was scouting in at Charlotte, and an office he was thinking of putting about an offer in Detroit. He told her about his mother in Macon. He asked her about her grandmother, and when she told the granny-eyed Pearl and Cain story, he laughed so hard he had to put down his fork. He paid the check. He drove her home. He walked her to the door of her apartment, the 3rd floor walk up, exposed brick, view of the bridges going down the river. And he did not try to come up. He kissed her hand, and then he flew back to Atlanta the next morning. By the next week, he flew back. And by the end of November, he had been to Cleveland 5 times. By the second weekend of December, he was Instagram official. By Christmas, he was at Sunday dinner. He arrived in a black coat and a black scarf and a bottle of wine that cost more than the bottle Jasmine had brought on rotation for years. He handed it to Vivian with both hands, the way somebody clearly had taught him to. Mrs. Sinclair, thank you so much for having me. Oh, please, call me Vivian. Come in, come in. Marcus is on the piano. I hope you like gospel. I love gospel. You love it or you tolerate it? I sing in the choir at my mother's church when I'm home. Vivian's whole face changed. What part? Tenor. Marcus? Vivian called over her shoulder. Andre's a tenor. Lord have mercy, Marcus Sr. called back. Bring that boy in here. It was, AJ would think later, a perfect entrance. He shook her father's hand for exactly the right length of time. He sat next to Marcus Sr. at the piano for 15 minutes, and they harmonized on His Eye is on the Sparrow until Vivian was actually crying. He hugged Granny Ida and didn't squeeze too hard. He squatted to introduce himself to Charlie at her eye level, which was the kind of thing a man either thought to do or didn't. He met everyone. Marcus Jr. assessed him with the careful, slow look of an older brother who had appointed himself the family's lie detector. Simone smiled and refilled people's wine. Jasmine flirted with him just enough to test him. She did that with all the men her sisters brought home. It was a Sinclair sister hazing ritual, and he handled it gracefully. Devin watched him the longest. Devin watched him from across the room and didn't say much. And at one point, he caught AJ's eye and gave her a small, slow nod. That meant, I don't hate him. And from Devin, that was a coronation. Lena did not come to that Sunday dinner. She had texted Vivian that morning. Migraine, can't make it, send love. She had not sent a picture of herself in bed. She had not, AJ would think much later, sent any kind of evidence at all. Granny Ida watched Andre the whole night. She watched him sing. She watched him laugh. She watched him pull out AJ's chair. She didn't say a word about him. After he left, walking out the front door with his good coat and his good wine bottle empty in the recycling, Granny Ida sat at the kitchen table while Vivian and AJ cleaned up, and she said one thing. He's pretty. Yes, Granny. Real pretty. Mm-hmm. Granny Ida picked at a piece of cornbread. Pretty men don't bend, baby. Remember that. Vivian at the sink. Mama, stop. I'm just saying. Mama. Granny Ida said nothing else about him that night, or the next Sunday, or the Sunday after. But every time he came to dinner, and after that first one, he came every time he was in town. She watched him, and with that same flat, evaluating gaze, and she never said another word. In January, Devin came to AJ's apartment at 1 in the morning. He buzzed up. She let him in. He didn't take off his coat. He sat on her couch with his elbows on his knees and his head in his hands. Keita found something in my phone. What kind of something? Texts. From who? Rose. Devin. It wasn't, they weren't, it wasn't like that. It was about Imani. It was about Imani. At what time of night? He didn't answer. AJ got up. She went to her kitchen. She poured him a glass of water and herself a glass of wine. And she came back and sat down across from him. You're 43 years old, Devin. AJ, you have a 5-month-old daughter. Your girlfriend who has waited 2 years for you to figure out whether you want a life or whether you want a highlight reel. You have a sister who loves you, and a mother who prays for you, and a father who would let you fall on your face if it taught you something. And right now, I am sitting on my couch at 1 in the morning watching you decide whether you want to be a man, you keep telling yourself you are or the man you actually are? He said nothing. Which one is it? He still said nothing. His shoulders started to shake. Devin, I, I don't know. Yes, you do. I don't, AJ. She let him cry. She let him sit on her couch and cry for 10 full minutes without saying another word because that was what he came there for. And they both knew it. When he was done, she handed him a Kleenex from the box on her coffee table and she said quietly, "Go home to Kita. Tell her the truth, the whole thing, and whatever she does with it, you accept it. You do not run." He left at 2:15. She went back to bed, but she couldn't sleep. January turned into February. February turned into the dead middle of a Cleveland winter. Gray light, the kind of cold that made your bones tired by Wednesday. And through all of it, Andre Mitchell flew to her. He took her to the West Side Market on a Saturday, watched her flirt with the butcher she'd known since college. He sat in her kitchen on a Sunday afternoon and let her cook for him. And he washed every dish afterward without being asked. He brought her flowers, not roses. She had told him on the second date that she hated roses, and he remembered. He brought her peonies in February, which meant he paid for them to be flown in, and he handed them to her like it was nothing. He told her on a cold Friday night in February with the snow coming sideways past her window that he loved her. She didn't say it back. She kissed him, and he understood, and he didn't push. He flew back to Atlanta the next morning. 2 weeks later, Jules Beaumont stopped her in the lobby of the theater. Jules was an architect. She had met him through Darius 2 years before at a gallery thing. He had been quietly in love with her ever since. He had never said it. He never would, AJ thought sometimes, because that was who Jules was. Soft voice, slow to laugh. He looked at a woman the way he looked at a building he was thinking about restoring, with patience, with reverence, with a clear plan he never executed. He was there because Darius had dragged him to the same play AJ had dragged Camille to, and they ran into each other at the lobby at intermission. Hey, hey, you. How are you? Cold. You? Cold. They both laughed quietly. He looked tired around the eyes, like he worked too much and wasn't getting much sleep. I heard about Atlanta. From who? Darius. Darius needs to mind his business. Darius doesn't have business of his own. She smiled in spite of herself. He looked at her then, really looked at her. And she felt, for one half second, like she had stepped on a stair that wasn't there. He said, "You happy?" "I'm okay." "That's not what I asked." She didn't answer. He nodded slowly, like he was confirming something he had already suspected. Then he said, "Tell him to come correct. You're a serious woman." "I know, and I will. I'll see you around, AJ." He walked away. She stood in the lobby for another minute, holding her wine, and she did not understand why her chest had gone tight, and she did not let herself examine it. Chapter 4. The Performance. The firm's anniversary gala was the second Saturday in March. Andre flew in Friday. He brought a garment bag, a hotel reservation, and a small velvet box that, when she saw it on his dresser, made her stomach turn over in a way she did not yet know how to read. He did not open it that night. He kissed her instead, slow, on the back of her neck while she was putting on her earrings. And he whispered, "I want to do this right with your father. Soon." She nodded. She didn't say a word. Saturday afternoon, he hosted a small dinner at his place, the condo he had bought 4 months in, because he was thinking about being in Cleveland more, because she was here. The view from his window ran straight down the river to where the lake opened up, and at 4 o'clock in March, it looked like a black and white photograph. 6 guests from the Atlanta office in town for the gala. He hired a caterer and bought flowers and put on the kind of music that made the room feel like an editorial spread. He picked her up at her apartment in her good silver dress. Camille had pulled it, fitted through the waist, neckline that did exactly what it was supposed to do. And on the drive over, he kept reaching for her hand at red lights, like he was confirming she was real. Babe, I want you to meet everybody. You've told me about everybody. Yeah, but in person, it's different. In person, it was different. There was Greg, Andre's older cousin, who also worked at the firm, the kind of guy whose suit fit and whose handshake was the right pressure. There was Trevor, a developer buddy, loud laugh, slightly too much cologne. Trevor's wife, Yvette, small, bright, teeth done. There was Bryce, junior partner, Andre had been chasing for 2 years, and his date Mia, who was a model and who Andre introduced as my brother Bryce and his lovely friend Mia, like he wasn't sure of her name. And then there was Tasha, a senior associate AJ had heard Andre mention more than once, dressed head to toe in black, who watched AJ longer than she greeted her. AJ shook hands. She remembered names. She asked Greg about his daughter at Spelman, and Greg lit up the way men in their 50s light up when somebody asks about their daughters. She asked Yvette about the jewelry line on her Instagram, and Yvette nearly cried. She asked Bryce a follow up question about a deal she had read about in BizNow, and Bryce blinked twice and reassessed her on the spot. She watched him do it. She knew, flooring them. Andre stood at the bar next to her and beamed. They sat at the table. Wine was poured. The caterer set down small plates of something with heirloom tomatoes and burrata. And AJ told the story about Granny Ida and the church soup pearls. And the table laughed, really laughed. Not the polite laugh. And Greg said with real warmth, Andre, where did you find her? Mahogany Society, the Cleveland chapter. A mutual friend introduced us. You've been holding out on us. I have. AJ let the warmth land on her. She felt good. She felt seen. She did not yet know that seen and displayed were two different things, and that one of those things was about to slide quietly into the other. She excused herself between courses. The bathroom in Andre's condo was down the short hallway off the kitchen, and the kitchen had an open pass through to the dining room. She washed her hands. She freshened her lipstick. She came back down the hallway and was about to step back into the view when she heard her name. She paused, not on purpose at first, just paused. It was Trevor who had started it. How long y'all been together now, Dre? 4 months. Almost five. 4 months, Trevor said in the voice that men use when they're about to ask a question that wasn't really a question. She's different, brother. She's different. How? That was Greg, even watching. I mean, come on, Greg. She's different. She's not the usual. She's smart. She's accomplished. She's a whole grown woman with a whole career. I mean, what pulled you in, Greg? Lay it out for us. We're trying to learn something. AJ did not move. Andre's voice came easy at first. She's brilliant. She's about to make partner at her firm. She cooks. Y'all, I have eaten in places, and I'm telling you, she cooks like somebody's grandmother in a designer dress. She's funny, and she doesn't need a damn thing from me. That's what got me. She doesn't need me. Most women I've dealt with, most women you've dealt with are 26, Tasha said. And of course, they need you. That's the relationship. The table laughed. Andre laughed too, but his laugh was a half beat behind. I'm just saying, Andre said. AJ's different. She is beautiful, Yvette said. Bright, the way Yvette said everything. She has such a pretty face. Like gorgeous, gorgeous. And she carries it so well. That's what I love about her. Big girls are so confident, and it's so refreshing. A small silence. Then Mia, the model, said quietly, Yeah. AJ stood very still in the hallway. You serious about her? Bryce said. Serious, serious? I think so. That's a big move, brother. It is. You sure you're ready? Andre laughed again. The laugh was different now, tighter. Ready for what? I mean, you and her are about to be walking into rooms together. The firm thing tonight, the Atlanta scene. You know how Atlanta is. Photos and Black Enterprise. You're in line for the senior partner track next year. I'm just, I'm asking as your boy. Have y'all talked about, you know, getting on a wellness journey together? Doing it as a couple thing? She'd probably love it. She'd probably appreciate you wanting to be in it with her. Another silence. In the hallway, AJ closed her eyes. She waited for Andre to say, Bryce, watch your mouth. She waited for him to say, That's my woman you're talking about. She waited for him to say anything that resembled the man who had sat next to her father at the piano and harmonized on his eyes on the sparrow until her mother cried. What she heard was Andre's voice go small and shifty. Yeah, no, I hear you, man. I hear you. Pause. I'll talk to her. Greg's voice cut in then, lower, almost private. Dre, listen to me. That is a serious woman in there. You hear what I'm telling you? You handled that the way it's supposed to be handled. I will, Greg. I will. Tasha gave a small, careful laugh and said, She is pretty, though. She's pretty for. She didn't finish the sentence. Nobody made her. AJ took 2 breaths in the hallway. Then she stepped around the corner like she had not heard a single word. Sorry, everybody. I got a text from my sister about my niece. Where were we? She smiled. She sat back down. She let Andre put his hand on the small of her back, and his hand was slightly too high, too tight, and she let it stay there. The second course came out. The third course came out. She made the table laugh twice more. She moved through the rest of the dinner the way she had been trained to move through any difficult room. Chin up, voice steady, dignity intact. And underneath all of it, she was very calmly, very surgically deciding what to do. After dessert, Andre stood and tapped his glass. Before we head out to this gala, y'all, thank you for flying up to this freezing ass city. I love every single one of you. And to my girl, AJ, he raised his wine. Isn't she something? The word landed wrong again. But now AJ heard the machine that had made the word possible, and she heard every gear of it. She smiled. She lifted her glass an inch off the table, and she sipped. Thank you, baby, she said. He glowed. All right, y'all, give us 1 second. AJ, can I steal you for a minute? Kitchen? She stood. She followed him in. He was holding 2 glasses of champagne. He was smiling. Hey, babe, real quick. What's up? For the firm's anniversary thing, I was thinking, the photos are going to be in cranes, the partners are going to be there. Do you think maybe you could, you know, work on toning up a little just for the photos, just so we look, you're so beautiful, baby. I just want everyone to see what I see. The kitchen was very quiet. She set her champagne flute down on the marble counter. The sound it made was small and final. She did not yell. She did not cry. She did not blink. She looked at him for a long moment, and then she said, very evenly, "You don't see me, Andre. You see what people would clap for if you walked in with it. That's not the same thing." He started to say something. She held up one finger. "Don't." He stopped. "I'm going to walk out of this kitchen. I'm going to thank your guests for the lovely evening. I'm going to get my coat, and I'm going to leave. You are not going to follow me. You are not going to text me tonight. You are not going to call me tomorrow. You're going to give me 48 hours, and then I'm going to send you a one-line message ending this, and you're going to respect it because the only thing you ever got right about me was that I am a serious woman." She picked up her champagne, drank it down in 3 swallows, set the empty flute back on the counter, and walked out of the kitchen. She thanked his guests. She got her coat. She left. She drove home in silence with the radio off and her hands at 10 and 2 on the wheel. And when she got back to her apartment, she took off her dress and her makeup and her good earrings, and she put on her grandmother's old kitchen apron over a t-shirt and leggings, and she went to the kitchen. She made herself a plate. Leftover greens from Sunday, cornbread reheated, a small piece of the smoked turkey leg her father had sent home with her in Tupperware, macaroni in which she'd hidden in the back of the freezer for emergencies. She ate at her kitchen island, standing up, slowly. Her phone was on the counter, face down. It had buzzed 11 times in the last 20 minutes. She didn't look. Outside her window, the city was doing what it did at midnight in March. Wind off the lake, snow in the street lights, and cold. The kind of cold that made the bridges over the river look like ribs. She finished her plate. She rinsed it. She put it in the dishwasher. She poured herself a glass of water and stood at her sink, looking out at the city. And she said out loud to no one, "Okay, just that. Okay." Then she turned off her kitchen light and went to bed. She did not know that night that 200 miles south in a hotel suite in Columbus, her sister Lena was sitting on the edge of a bed in a hotel robe, looking at her phone, reading a text that said, "It's done." She did not know. Not yet. If you stuck around to the end, this story is not over. There are a few more parts to flesh out in the weight of her worth. So if you care and you want to know more, then subscribe. Follow the channel because this story is always going to keep your head turning. So if you want to hear what happened with AJ, her sister Lena, Andre, and the whole family, then stick around because I promise you, this is a story you're going to want to finish. Thank you so much for listening. Part 2 will be coming soon.